where are areas you think you landed on for the claim specifically?
I think I addressed both questions, but I said that I couldn't differentiate between the claim evidence and reasoning.
Okay, so what can you kind of summarize what your claim was real quick?
Okay, I said that basically when you're not breathing and you're doing exercise, you don't get the oxygen that you use to produce energy through cellular respiration. So when you hold your breath, it takes you less time to get tired. So yeah.
Okay. And so I noticed you had, for example, mentioned oxygen here is vital part of cellular respiration, but then because this lab we're dealing with lactic acid fermentation, there's like I think you noted it here right now.
Yeah.
You kind of like you're on track to kind of making that connection. Like there's not as much oxygen being incorporated into your system when you're doing these exercises. So I think a really good step for you to kind of progress in the evidence track is to start mentioning lactic acid fermentation. And right here, I said the next step to progress would be perhaps using mathematical representations to support your claim. So, I mean, support the evidence as evidence. So the times, but also if you remember the equation of lactic acid fermentation in the reading, how the production of ATP is less efficient, right, in lactic acid fermentation because, do you remember if it was aerobic or anaerobic?
It was anaerobic.
Anaerobic because
it didn't use oxygen.
Doesn't use oxygen. And oxygen is important in cellular respiration because it breaks down the glucose molecule for 36 ATP, right? So I think that would be a really great thing to talk about to kind of pull it this way for your evidence. And then what about your reasoning?
My reasoning? Yeah, there's more that I could have said, as like I said before, because I didn't mention lactic acid again. So I could have said more about that.
Yeah, so right here, I even in the rubric, I even give an example of you can start addressing the aspects of the how and why. So, but what I mean by how is how lactic acid fermentation works, which kind of connects to the evidence to support your overall claim. And then the why would be, why is this relevant? So thinking about the connection with exercise physiology and lactic acid fermentation. So I'm trying to really use this lab to help you all kind of make that connection between what you're learning here in science and what's happening when you're out at PE doing your exercise.
I did the same thing, but I did it for cellular respiration instead of lactic acid.
Okay, so
How and why.
so is it kind of like you kind of forgot the difference between the two?
No, I forgot to mention it.
Okay.
If I remembered that it was there, I would definitely say.
Okay. Let's see. Let me give one quick glance over the rest of this one. Okay. So I do think that you were a little harsh on yourself. I think you're kind of in the in-between of the good and on track. Not necessarily fully over here, but you're making good progress towards here. So I think if you take some of that, you can incorporate it into your CER. And then let's see. You said you had a good claim, but let's see. So here on the claim, I have noted that you have to make your claim easily distinguishable between your evidence and reasoning, and I think you were spot on in that you haven't really differentiated or set your claim and evidence apart. It was kind of smushed together. So for your claim, like up here, all it has to be is a statement that addresses the question directly. So it's just your answer. So why did it get more difficult? Because I think because of this. How would holding your breath impact the cellular process?